Hi, this is Jeff with the INTJ equation, and today I'm going to talk about FI, Introverted Feeling. I did make another FI video a long time ago, back when I was blogging, so you can definitely check that out here. But I wanted to remake it to kind of fit the new theme of my channel and as it grows and I kind of get everything together. But before I get into the content, I would like to remind you to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. You can add me on social media, INTJ equation. Join our Discord server, which will be down in the description below. Or you could send me an email or send me a message on here, intjequation@gmail.com. So what is FI exactly? FI, like I said, is Introverted Feeling. It kind of is as it sounds, really. You kind of keep your emotions to yourself. You don't emote emotions as much like you would like a FE user, like an ESFJ and ENFJ, who are kind of always happy, trying to get others happy, trying to get others engaged. And I'll talk about FE in the next video. About your own personal values, your own personal morals. It kind of steers like what you want to do in life. Like, do you think does this feel good to you? Does this feel bad to you? So it's actually really important to an INTJ's development to show your emotions as much. You kind of keep them to yourself internally like a FE user would, like I said already. So what are good things about FI? I think this is really important for INTJs to get in touch of. I think it's really underlooked in our development. And we could look at like ISFPs and ESFPs, INFPs, and ENFPs to kind of get a better example of how we should use our FI, and if they use it healthy at least. It's about your own morals, your own convictions. It kind of makes you steer your direction of like what you want to do and what you're going to accomplish in life, and kind of makes you a good or bad person, really. Not that FE users can't be good or bad people. It's just a little bit different with FI. It can be very expressive. It can be very kind. It can be very gentle. FE users kind of get their emotions from FI users a lot of times. So if like there's an FI user that's in a bad mood, an FE user may become in a bad mood as well. So FE users are always trying to get FI users to get in good moods and keep them in good moods because they feel that emotion from the FI user. It's really about just kind of your likes and your dislikes. You can really, change the world with a good, healthy FI. I think FI is really important, like I said, for INTJs because it's really important to see what you value, and you can value and like the wrong things and become a horrible person. And you become a very selfless person, kind of putting yourself in other people's shoes, because people with FI have a hard time making others feel better. It's more about them feeling better, how they feel. So you kind of just put yourself in other people's shoes, and you can really just change the world that way. It can be very expressive, like an ISFP. They put what they feel into their art or their craft. INFPs do something really similar. So it can create some of the most amazing art. Not that I'm a huge art guy, but I can definitely appreciate it. And I've dabbled in it recently, and it's very comforting and therapeutic. I think as I was painting, I was kind of like, I wasn't really looking around at people. I was just really focused on what I was doing, and it was really relaxing and calming. So I think that's really a good way to develop your FI is through art. Also, that will help your SE as well. Another thing about FI, which is really great, it's you kind of go against the grain with it. I mean, you can kind of do what everybody else is doing, what FE users typically do. It's kind of like the whole collective of the values, the ethics of the community. But FI users kind of see like, well, this is wrong and I feel different about this, so I'm going to do something totally different. So, they can be like trailblazers in a way, like, well, you're doing it this way. I feel that's wrong. So I'm going to make the new norm. I'm going to make the new establishment. You can change the social norms and social values of society. So now let's get into the bad things about FI. FI users are stereotypically seen as selfish. It could be very childish with RFI, which I'll get into in a minute. Like INFPs, ENFPs, ISFPs, ESFPs, they kind of seen as narcissistic because they kind of go off the way they feel and they don't care about how others feel necessarily if they're in a healthy state, and they got to develop their shadow, the FE in their shadow. So that's something you definitely got to watch out for. You can kind of get hell-bent in your own values and kind of overlook everybody else. Is something that INTJs do, and I still do myself as an unhealthy INTJ, trying to become a more healthy INTJ. So you got to take other people's values and even the whole collective values, ethics into consideration. It can be a guessing game for other people because FI users kind of keep their emotions themselves, so we kind of expect people to read our minds. We don't really like sharing how we feel, especially because I think as an INTJ myself, I don't always know how I feel, but I am feeling that at the current moment. I can't always pinpoint the emotion. Before, I felt an emotion and it took me a while to see, like, what is this exactly? Like, I spent time in therapy talking about this, trying to pinpoint and validate my own emotions, because I grew up in a kind of a narcissistic environment where my emotions were not validated. So I ended up shutting them down and putting them in the back burner. If I just kind of expect people to read their minds, they can also be really guilty of idleness and laziness. Like, I don't feel like doing this. So like an INTJ, when they get in their NIFI loop, like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't feel like it. Or I feel like I'm a bad person. I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm tired. I'm sore. You just make excuses for yourself. Kind of like one bad thing, when I talk about FE trickster a little bit, like we rationalize other people's emotions. So, if we're healthy enough, we kind of have a problem and we kind of solve it with our TE. We do this with other people too. We don't realize that other people have emotions and other people have feelings. Really, we kind of forget about that sometimes with FE trickster. So we try to help others plan and rationalize around their emotions. Like, if you solve this problem, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. But like an INFP, ISFP, they want to process those emotions and get through them and kind of come to terms, then find a solution. So, if you do that too long, your life's going to pass you away and opportunity's going to slip through your fingers. So you got to be very, very cautious about that. So how does FI affect an INTJ? We have what John Beebe in the Cognitive Attitude 8 model theory, the a priori, which means in Latin, external child. Call it the child function for simplification. We're kind of childish about how we feel. We get caught in the NIFI loop, the NIFI loop, whatever you want to call it. I call it NIFI for short, like Wi-Fi, I guess. We want to do things with our NI, but we feel like we don't want to do them because we feel lazy, or we feel worthless, or we're tired, or whatever excuses. So we don't use our TE and our SE to kind of light a fire on our own ass, and we end up doing nothing. Or very childish, the way that we feel. That's why it's called the child function. We can be very selfish. As I talked about earlier in the video, we always realize that other people don't have emotions and that people are going through their own things and their own circumstances, and they have to process their own emotions. So we have FE trickster. So we kind of expect people just to kind of pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get to work, and we kind of don't validate other people's emotions. So we kind of come off as arrogant. But then we're kind of hypocritical in a sense that we're kind of down in the dumps with ourselves because we're stuck in our own FI and we're not taking action. So got to definitely be cautious about that. FI, like I said, is very, very important for INTJ to develop. I think it's the most underlooked thing for us to develop because especially as males in society, INTJ females might have this a little bit easier in this aspect at least. We're not meant to be emotional. We're supposed to kind of suppress that, which is really, really unhealthy. INTJs, I know we just let things fester. We let things bother us and we bottle it up until just one day we can explode. Then we get all super pissy with our SE. So it's definitely a good way to find like an outlet for to express your FI. It's like your value system, your own morality. Since we don't really have the collective FE kind of morals, the values of everybody, the whole collective everything, we kind of have our own. I think that's the biggest reason why we go against the grain all the time. We're always different, doing something different, doing our own thing. You got to find out what we value and truly work for it. Like personally for me, I really value mental health awareness. I think it's being handled horribly in this country. Psychology is really still in its infancy. It has a long way to go. It came a long way, of course, but we can definitely change things and make it better. I really value that there's 16 different types. Of course, there's 7.5 billion people in the world. So there's that many personalities, but there's 16 personality types. I believe personality type is just kind of like the skeletal system of the body. And, everybody has their own experiences, their own traumas, their own likes and dislikes, their own values. So it's very deep and complex, but I think there's a roadmap that we can do to recovery. We can do to individualization, whatever you want to call it. So it's very important that you kind of think and you get your own feeling and you process that. then you kind of apply it to your other functions and it kind of steers your course. Another thing I would like to add to that, it makes us really sensitive deep down. I think this is a big misconception that people have, that we're just unfeeling monsters. That's a big stereotype. That's not true. We're just FI users, and we don't have FE because of FE trickster, so we don't emote our own emotions. So we feel things very, very deeply. I don't think we always understand it. Maybe it's just me, because I'm pretty unhealthy, and like I said, I grew up in a narcissistic borderline household, and my emotions didn't mean shit. So I always kind of suppressed it, and I think it can cause health issues if you don't get your feelings out, your emotions out, even if you just write them on paper, or do like an ISFP would, just maybe paint a painting or draw or something. Get that out some way, some form. Thank you for watching this video on Introverted Feeling. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the content, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below. Click the little bell icon just for kicks. If you want to watch it, like I said, you can watch the old FI video I did. I think it fits more into this theme where I'm trying to build my channel into. That was kind of like me not wanting to show my face. It's actually my most popular video, but it's one of my oldest videos too. So yeah, thank you for going on a clickbait. Have a great day.